I do like Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, but they're cutting that as well so they can run all the Hell Riders. But Hell Rider gets shut down a lot in this format. I like the Aristocrats right now, and I would definitely be wanting to play a bunch of them if I was playing this strategy. But we're already out to the races. Aristocrats starting off with Blood Crypt.
You see Samuel. Looks like both players have kept their opening 7, and it does not look like Samuel has a turn 1 play. Looks like he's going to play just a Rootbound Crag tapped, and he's going to pass the turn back. Turn 1 plays for the Experiment John deck typically are, of course, its namesake card, Experiment 1. You also do find Rakdos Cackler. Some people choose to play Wolf-Bitten Captives in these deck as well. So, yeah, we do see some 1-drops, but they don't have the 1-drops of the power of the Blitz deck with Champion Perish. And even a card that looks a little bit innocuous is Boros Elite.
Yeah, so they actually both mulligan down to 6. And when you see an Experiment Jund start off with a core set duel, you're pumping the fist.
Yeah. Means they have not drawn any of their dual lands. They're off to a much slower start and probably have multiple core set duels in their hand. Yeah. As you do see a Woodland Cemetery and another Rootbound Crag, and you're going to see a Deathrite Shaman here from Samuel, and he is going to play that Woodland Cemetery and just pass the turn back. So, unexciting start to our round 6 feature match. See if we can turn up the heat for you here on Alex's turn. He does draw a Godless Shrine, and it looks like he has a Boros Reckoner in his hand.
Yeah, I feel like that's enough heat for right now.
As we are going to see Alex, looks like he's going to lead out here with a Cavern of Souls.
Yeah, because you have a white source in hand, I think you get punished because the deck does run 4 Silverblade Paladins. I think he's just going to shock himself. Like, maybe misrepresenting the matchup because it does look like the start of a Jund deck as well.
Yeah.
With those Deathrites main deck.
And there is your Boros Reckoner. The Minotaur Wizard is here, and Alex is going to pass the turn back. A card that did define Standard for a little over a month there. It slowed down a little bit, but Alex does have one to play on turn 3. And it will be difficult for Samuel to get through.
So we have this Mythic Ticket thing on above the curve.
Sure.
And because Todd was one of the last guests, he took Boros Reckoner over any of the mixes because we picked them all up. And he was leading until about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it slowed down a little bit.
The Mythic Ticket contest was being won by a rare.
It has slowed down dramatically as compared to Pro Tour Montreal, where we did see it all over the place, and it was the card that basically defined the format. People have found ways to go either above it or around it or just kill it and move on. But
and he is the one reason, Boros Reckoner, that Junk Reanimator is a deck because all the removal spells had to change to deal with him.
Yep.
And they don't deal with the Angel Serenities. So if you have someone to point your finger at for having Junk Reanimator, don't point at me or any content producers that talked about the deck. Point at Boros Reckoner. He's the culprit.
Blame the Moo Cow. Blame the Moo Cow. So you do see Samuel is going to play a Stomping Grounds untapped. He does just pass the turn, so he pushes himself down to 18. We're going to see what Alex is going to name with Cavern, which is human. So Champion of the Parish is going to come in, and now you're going to see Boros Reckoner come into the red zone here.
Yeah, so is this going to be Searing Spear and activation off Deathrite Shaman? I mean, you're going to get 2 for 1, but you got to deal with that guy?
That's kind of what it feels like to me. You have to get that thing out of the way eventually. It's not something that you can just ignore till the end of time. It looks like Samuel is just going to take that damage. So
draft number 4.
Let's see what's going on over here.
To the main event stage.
Well, we have just a champion, and
number 4.
Alex's hand is double Orzhov Charm Blasphemous Sack. So if Samuel loses too much life, I mean, yeah, this is fine with the Orzhov Charms. You can put it back into play if you want to.
This smells like a Searing Spear plus a Tragic Slip to me. You see Searing Spear is going to target that Champion of the Parish.
And maybe Alex is going to protect it by putting it in his hand. So he does not get slipped.
Bounce that. So one of the modes on Orzhov Charm that you don't see very often, and it's kind of weird to see a white-black spell be able to bounce a creature to its hand, but fun little design space.
And it does protect the Boros Reckoner from the potential of a Tragic Slip, so that's a great play.
So Deathrite Shaman removes that Orzhov Charm. Alex ends up taking 2. We do just pass the turn back here. As you see, Samuel has drawn a Mountain for the turn. He has a couple Rootbound Crags in his hand, and we assume a Tragic Slip over there as well. Just wondering what that last card is. We're going to tap 3 mana, and it looks like it's going to be
a Drag Mangler.
A promotional Drag Mangler. And in we go. So an attack here for 4 by Samuel is going to knock Alex down to 12, and the race is on.
Yeah, and
we're going to see another Deathrite Shaman. Okay.
Well, this is a ton of pressure. Alex is going to have to find some way of either getting that Blasphemous Act online or finding something that can deal with this aggression, because that Tragic Slip will deal with that Reckoner, leaving that Boros or the Blasphemous Act just to wrap the board. And we all love value. We love winning the game with big spells. We need that Blasphemous Act to win. I didn't get that Prime Speaker Zagana draw. I need the Blasphemous Act.
You
this
need
turn.
this for your mental state.
I do.
We need Blasphemous Act to happen for Brad. And Blasphemous Act, the card we'll bring up on the screen for you guys in just a moment. You guys can see the Wrath that comes a little cheaper as more creatures do come into play. Here comes Boros Reckoner.
That'll drop Samuel to 12 in reach of a Blasphemous Act.
It does cost 1 less for each creature on the battlefield, deals 13 damage to each creature, and when there's a Boros Reckoner in play, it'll also deal 13 damage to Samuel, which is some people would call that a fun interaction.
Yeah, if he only drew 1 land, he would have got there. But next turn, if Samuel doesn't do anything, there's no creatures in the graveyard to protect him, he can just cast that Blasphemous Act for lethal. Oh, I guess he could do a cute trick like kill the champion and then gain 2 life and go to 1.
Yeah. So we'll see what Samuel is going to be able to conjure up this turn. As we know, we believe he has a Tragic Slip in his hand.
Yeah.
That is our best guess here in the booth. And you're going to see Dread Mangler, No Fear, coming across here.
Zombies never have any fear. They just die and come back.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful life.
Depends on who you are. I wouldn't want to just keep dying and coming back. That would probably get old to me.
I mean, I wouldn't mind being Kenny. It'll be pretty sweet.
You're going to see an Overgrown Tomb here post-combat for Samuel. He does just pass the turn back, so Alex does have the ability to cast a Blasphemous Act.
Yeah,
he draws
he can just go
Deck
for
High
it.
Priest. He can, quote-unquote, go for it, as Brad said, to end the game, but
Yeah.
will he pull the trigger?
I think you have to pull this trigger. All right, there it is. Blasphemous Act. Double Tragic Slip can stop it, but there's only 1 black source. Oh, with only 1 black source, this will just leave Samuel at 1 life if he sees it.
And you see Alex just go, all right, I have Blasphemous Act, so is this going to do it or not going to do it? How's this going to work? Oh, Samuel
Tick-tock.
contemplating.
Nope.
And nope, that's a concession. So Blasphemous Act, Boros Reckoner, the quote-unquote combo does win the game
Combo
for Alex.
breaker.
So that's Claudio. We'll be up a game here with the Aristocrats of Sam Black and Tom Martell fame against Sammy Williams and Experiment Jund. And Brad, I know that you have the Aristocrats sideboard in front of you.
I do, and it's very interesting. He has 4 Thalias, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Rakdos Charm, 1 Purify the Grave, 2 Slaughter Game. So a mix of graveyard. Like, you know how they said about the Aristocrats it was a very tricky deck?
Yeah.
This guy's going with it. He's like, I have 4 different cards that are good against Reanimator. He had 2 Severed Bloodlines, 9 different cards. He's like, I just want to do a bunch of different things. And then 2 Obsidian. So in this matchup, I feel like a lot of these cards aren't that great, and your main deck's already pretty well positioned in a matchup like this. You have your Cartel Aristocrats, you have your High Priests, Silverblade Paladins, probably your worst card, but you still want that to be aggressive. So I could see him potentially bringing an Obsidian, but that's kind of slow on the draw. I could see potentially no change.
Just keeping it the same.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring in Rest in Peace to deal with Deathrite Shaman and Drag Manglers, but that doesn't seem that productive.
Kind of slow, almost kind of counterintuitive, honestly, where you draw, if you draw that second Rest in Peace or something, that's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah, so potentially the Falcon Wrath Aristocrats could come out for Sever the Bloodline and Obsidian maybe.
Okay.
But like for the most part, this deck is designed to beat up on aggressive decks. That's why they built it. That's what it does.
And does a nice job of it, as you did see the game 1 win there for Alex off the back of Boros Reckoner being a huge problem and Blasphemous Act wiping everything up. On Samuel's side here, you're going to find 2 Strongkirk Nobles, a Ground Seal, 2 Liliana of the Veil, 2 Rakdos Charm, a Golgari Charm, 2 Abrupt Decays, a Skullcrack, a Vampire Nighthawk, 2 Volcanic Strength, and a Dreadbore in the sideboard. Cards that really kind of leap out at you as cards that are pretty good here. 2 Volcanic Strength, I think, are a good place to start. Assuming that there are some red mana still over there.
That's the funny thing that you have to play with when you bring in Volcanic Strength right now, is they're really, really good against the straight red-green aggressive decks. But other than that, everyone just runs 8 mountains. So I've seen a lot of people play Falcon or Volcanic Strength into Lingering Souls with no mountains, like block. Yeah, gotcha.
Can be a little bit frustrating, a little bit of high variance there, but when Volcanic Strength is good, it is great. So we'll probably see those come in. The Vampire Nighthawk could join us as well as well as that Dreadbore and the 2 Abrupt Decays to be able to take care of Boros Reckoner. And you do want to be able to control Champion of the Parish. Liliana of the Veil could also come in here, and 2 Strongkirk Nobles, which is a card you don't really see in the sideboard of very many decks here in Standard, but being on the play, I could see Samuel sideboarding those in. There are a lot of humans in the Aristocrats.
Yes.
And outside of Boros Reckoner, it can just be an unblockable threat, so we could see those join us as well.
Yeah, very unique card to have in your sideboard. Just Strong Cork Noble. I feel like your deck either wants it or doesn't.
Yeah, you see, this is a non-traditional take on Experiment Jund, where you only do find 3 copies of Experiment 1 and 4 copies of Deathrite Shaman as the 1-drops. Deathrite Shaman, a card you can tell, he's playing main deck, where you'd probably sideboard those because Chunk Reanimator is so popular and it's good against them. Normally you find, as I said earlier, your Rakdos Cacklers, maybe your Wolf-Bitten Captives in that slot, but Deathrite Shaman getting the nod here because Chunk Reanimator is so dominant right now. And you see a card like Deathrite Shaman not particularly great in this matchup.
No. And you also, you have 2 Appetite for Brains in the main that's also really unique.
Yeah.
Just really prepared for that mid-range metagame.
Yep. And again, that's a card that's not particularly good against the Aristocrats. Well, scanning over just the main deck for Alex's deck.
You just have 4 Aristocrats, 2 Sorens.
Yeah, so you don't even have that many
The
targets.
Blasphemous Act that won him the game.
Yeah, there's only one of those in there. And I actually do like the one of Blasphemous Act in this deck.
Just to get you.
Yeah, I mean, just a card that, when you do draw to it, is going to be good just about every time. And it was obviously very good that game.
Yeah, you have the Aristocrats that all survive it, as well as the Boros Reckoners that can just kill them.
Yeah. So a healthy one-of, it's a card that we start to see one-ofs in not only the Aristocrats, you also see it in one-ofs in, your blue, white, red. I don't want to call it flash, but those strategies that involve
I've never seen a Blasphemous Act in that deck.
No?
No, because I usually think you don't want a Blasphemous Act unless you can put creatures on the board too.
Okay.
So like in the blue, white, red, you probably have 1 guy, so they need to have like 5.
Well, they'll help you out. They're nice guys.
Yeah, they're nice. We got all these pilgrims.
Yeah.
We're
Got
good.
some crappy dorks to put in play too. Those Augur Boluses that can't ever attack and just always come into play and put 3 cards to the bottom. Those guys deserve design to Blasphemous Act. So.
And you can get the Blasphemous Act out of it instead of like your other win conditions.
Yeah, but we know that's not going to happen because Augur Bolus doesn't ever hit. So.
No, it just hits like 2 of your best cards and a Snapcaster Mage.
Yes. That's typically what Augur Bolus does, which is why I'll never be casting it. So you do see both players taking a look at their opening 7 cards here. Looks like Alex is reaching and taking a trip to Mulligan Town.
Going into Act 2?
Yes, absolutely. That's another Aristocrat joke, is that?
Yes.
Ah, okay. D+.
Do you not know the Aristocrat jokes?
Not really, no.
Oh.
No.
Well, we cannot talk about it here.
My nerd cred was in question last week by AJ Soccer.
Really?
Yeah, it was. He made me look bad as far as nerd cred.
The Aristocrat is not a nerdy thing.
Oh.
It's like a comedian thing.
What comedian?
Cannot discuss this anymore.
Wow.
I would not be on above the curve next week if I did.
Okay, fair enough. We cannot discuss the Aristocrats. Maybe a little off-camera Twitter action is where we'll have to talk about this. I feel like I should know. I want to be in the loop.
Let's just say Bob Saget's kind of behind it. Not behind it, but
all right. Well, I'm a
enough.
big fan. I'm a big fan of Full House, so that works for me.
We go to the most pure thing he's ever done.
That's right. I'm a big fan of Full House, so that works just fine.
You do know that like is the opposite of Bob Saget.
I
right?
do know that. I
just want to make sure I didn't want to crush your dreams.
I have seen some of Mr. Saget's stand-up.
Just like your whole world of Bob Saget is crumbling down. Anyway,
I'm not a big fan of him. Personally, I don't think his stand-up's that good.
Yeah.
But we're going to see Experiment 1 here from Samuel, which is good, and a Godless Shrine here from Alex and the Champion of the Parish. So it's a battle of the best 1-drops in Standard, some could argue.
No, that's very true. Yeah, I'd go with like Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's the best 1-drop. Man, oh man.
I like Champion. He gives the beats. I like to attack. You know that.
All right, here we go.
The Variance Machine itself, Volcanic Strength in the house.
Mr. Alex, you just got double slaughter games.
Yeah.
But you can still draw them.
Play them out, and I dare you to. Here comes Experiment 1 for 3. Alex is going to move down to 15, and the race is on.
No, but the problem is like you're all in. You're not going to get any evolve. That's as far as you're going.
That's
sir.
true. That's true. There will be no evolving here of Experiment 1. So we see Alex is going to play an Isolated Chapel. He's going to follow up with a Night of Glory. Sorry, Night of Infamy. My apologies.
I was not going to catch that.
Got to catch myself then.
All right.
So we see an Exalted Trigger as well. So we're going to see an attack for 3. And it's going to be 15 up.
Yeah, definitely just all in over there for Experiment Jund. He's down a game and he's like pushed himself with that start. I'm curious why he wanted to just play. Did he draw the board or draw the Stomping Grounds?
I believe he drew the Stomping Ground for the draw. I'm not positive.
Yeah,
but I believe that's what
play the board.
So now we see Samuel contemplating his turn here. Or he can play that Stomping Ground on tap, move himself down to 13, play the Flint Hoof board, give that little piggy haste, and give that beatdown. That's hard to pass that up.
No, if you're playing Experiment Jund, you want to attack with hasty guys. That's your goal. That's what your deck does.
And so we are going to see A Dreadmangler, okay.
Yeah. That, nope.
And there will be no evolution. I'm sorry. Experiment 1 is too large already. That is a 3-3.
Yeah. Well, I still feel like you just have to attack.
Yeah, I think the race is on. I mean, you just want to you want to get. I feel like in this particular game, and a lot of times in this match, the first person who blocks loses.
Yeah, I agree with that. They don't really have the tools to play defensive for a long time. Well, I don't know if that's that true. I think the Aristocrats is the deck that can play defensive as well. Like with cards like Cartel Aristocrat and Doom Traveler, those things can do a lot of sweet things together.
I just want to give those beatdowns on Samuel. I want to stay ahead. I want to make my opponent have to slow themselves down. As you see, Alex does draw the Falconwrath Aristocrat for the turn. He does not have a red source of mana yet, as you're going to see a Godless Shrine here that might come into play untapped. And it is, so Alex is going to have to move down to 7
How
now.
How lucky, all of these non-mountain lands.
Hey, that's part of playing in this format, as we're going to see a Silverblade Paladin here. It's going to pump that Champion of the Parish. They are going to make a Facebook relationship change, and in we go with a 4/4 double striker, maybe. Maybe.
Gotta take it back. All right, now we're good.
All right, there we go with our Exalted Trigger. That's going to make that a 4/4.
8 damage coming in. Dropping Samuel to 5. Maybe.
And we've got a 2/2 first striker on defense, but that's not all that impressive when you're facing down a bunch of 3/3s. So Samuel is going to draw a card. He draws Gore Clan Rampager.
Can this game just be done? Yeah, like this game is just done, right? Oh no, if the Infamy blocks, then it's just, he's one short.
Yeah, it depends on how Alex is going to make his blocks, and Samuel's going to force the issue here. He's going to attack with both of his creatures and force Alex to make the proper blocks. Now,
which is fine, because if he does block with both creatures, he can just play the Bourne block too. So yeah, Samuel's like really ahead on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very good attack here. You know, it forces the issue here for Alex to have to play around a bunch of different cards, and you can see the agony in his face deciding on how he wants to block. And as long as I was correct about him drawing Gore Clan Rampager, which I am, a card that we'll bring up on the screen for you, Blood Rush in the house. And I think that we're going to see +4/+4 and trample. And I think we're going to see what looks to be a lethal attack, Brad.
And then we're going to see a game 3.
And we are going to see a game 3. So Gore Clan Rampager off the top does do it for Samuel Williams. We're going to a third one here, as you see a sigh of relief from Sam.
Yeah. Well, when you're all in on Experiment 1 Volcanic Strength, like,
yeah,
you're happy to get there.
Hey, don't stop attacking. You got to give those beats.
No, that's true.
So Experiment John versus the Aristocrats, a matchup that, you know, we haven't seen a lot of recently, and I think this is a matchup that might be a little die roll dependent. Depends on who's on the play, who's on the draw.
I think it comes down to draw dependency from the Aristocrat side. Like the combo between Cartel Aristocrat and Doom Traveler is very good at stopping the beats early.
Okay.
And then you add in any Champion, Boros Reckoner, High Priest draws. You can do some very powerful things. Silverblade Paladin gives double strike to your champions, or even your Boros Reckoners. And if he did keep any Falconwrath Aristocrats in, like, that's also just a very good combo of just getting 10 out of nowhere.
Sure.
So it depends on how aggressive of draws. You saw Alex's draw be more of the aggressive side with the Exalted and the Champions and Silverblades. But if we saw the defensive side of his deck, I think that game would have completely went in the other direction. 1 Doom Traveler, 1 Cartel Aristocrat, 1 Tragic Slip, it's in Aristocrat's favor.
It's a wildly different game.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on what half of the deck draws, because there are no, of course, Ponders or Thought Scours or, you know, Brainstorms for manipulation.
I mean, to be
like
fair,
that.
I don't think there's time for that. I think you take a blue-white Stoneblade deck and, like, put it against, like, Blitz. As long as you don't get, like, the decks without the Wrath effects.
Sure.
I'd want to see that.
Okay.
That would be kind of interesting.
I could see that, yeah. Give the Blitz deck a couple of dual lands, give it a little bit better mana base, but
sure, yeah.
The overall strategy, see if they can, you know, if the Stoneblade deck can stabilize itself and get better skill to play and what have you. I can see it having some difficulty doing that. But, you know, we might see that next weekend. Zoo might be on the comeback trail.
You think? No.
It might be.
I think there's going to be way too many people trying to show their opponents things.
A little show and tell, maybe.
Just a lot of show and tell, yeah. It's very combo right now.
I know you don't want to give away your standard deck, but are you considering Sneak and Show for Legacy?
No, I think I'm going to be playing Reanimator in Legacy. It's a deck that I've been testing a lot. I have tools in town that know the deck very well, and I've just been playing it, and I do like the feel of it. It does something powerful, and I mean, drawing 14 up Griselbrand is like the best feeling in the world.
Oh, so you just want to sideboard your show and tells. I understand.
Yes.
I understand. You don't want to start them. You want to give your opponents a fair shot.
I want to go last in class.
Gotcha, gotcha. As we're going to see both players keep their 7, Alex is going to lead off with the Sacred Foundry into a Champion of the Parish. So game 3
It's
is
like, you know what?
underway
You can
here.
Volcanic Strength me. We're on the play today.
Well, Samuel does have Volcanic Strength in his hand, so it looks like he might make an attempt to do that. It looks like we're going to see an Experiment 1. So the Premier 1 drops from each deck are here. Skirt Stack High Priest to draw for Alex, and Rest in Peace, a card that you did bring up. Alex did bring in.
Well, don't know how important that's going to be when we're silver blading yet again.
If you signed up,
So the High Priest comes into play. It is a human, so it will trigger the Champion Parish. Champion becomes a 2/2 and safely attacks in to that Experiment 1. And Alex is off to a pretty nice start here. And Samuel, as you said, this is a deck, Experiment Jun, that does not play defense very well. It does not want to be on the back foot, as you guys do see High Priest on the screen. And it might be another game where we see Volcanic Strength and try to turn the tide.
Hopefully, yeah, I really want another creature. That's like a perfect 2-drop there. It's going to trigger the Experiment 1 twice. Well, it's not blocking.
Oh, he's giving the beatdowns. The race is on, and when you do have Volcanic Strength in your hand, you may just want to
I like
try
that.
to race.
I like that block because it gives both your guys counters. See, now what we're going to see is a Silver Blade attack for 7 and having a defensive guy as well.
Well, maybe he knew that Alex has the Rest in Peace in his hand, so if he did block with the Stringer guys, he would not come back. It would not make that Experiment 1 any bigger, but as you did predict, Silver Blade Paladin is here. It's going to trigger that Champion of the Parish. Looks like we've got a team up as well. So here comes the gang for an attack for 7.
That'll drop Samuel down to 9. Really good position for Alex, since I think Samuel's hand is a little land heavy with very aggressive spells and nothing defensive, no removal.
You see Alex's hand, he does have that Rest in Peace. He also does have another Silver Blade Paladin in his deck, so he can at the very least make that champion into a 4/4 next turn. He could also pair up with that Skirt Stack High Priest, kind of a mopey pairing, but
yeah, sometimes, you know, your parents choose your spouse.
yeah, you
Just
gotta do
happens,
what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You see Samuel here, he has drawn his card and he has moved deep into the tank, how to figure out how to get himself out of this situation. And you know, it is debatable about how good Rest in Peace is against Experiment Jun, but right now, if Samuel does not attack with that Strength Group, guys, Rest in Peace is going to be paramount. It's going to be fantastic.
It's going to leave him with 1 less blocker over the course of the next couple turns.
And you just see some of the difficulty here, and as you mentioned, for the Aristocrats, you know, the deck can have a defensive draw, can also have an aggressive draw. We saw the aggressive draw last game, and when it's on the draw with the aggressive draw, not so good, but when it's on the play with the aggressive draw, instead of the Doom Traveler Tragic Slip draw this game, it looks pretty darn good.
Let me show you the world of Standard.
So we do see an attack here with Experiment 1 and the the Strangerroot guys. No fear. Will Alex block here? Brad, no information. Would you block? You don't know Samuel's hand. We know Alex's hand.
No. Well, yeah, you can. You want him. Yeah, you want to block because you want him to Gore Clan and invest more into resources, so then you're lethal with the next Silver Blade.
All right. This could be a bit of a blowout here as well. You know, maybe an Abrupt Decay takes place in the Champion of the Parish, and then Silver Blade Paladin does not have double strike anymore.
Yeah, you can't have that happen.
You know, if it's Gore Clan Rampager, it's a good situation for you, but if it's not so good. You see him going back and forth, hemming and hawing on the block here. It looks like he pulls the trigger, and are we going to see Abrupt Decay? We are. Abrupt Decay takes care of the Champion of the Parish. No more double strike for the Silver Blade Paladin.
Does anyone else feel that like hit to the stomach like I do? That's
the wind has been knocked out of you, maybe out of Alex as well. As he takes care of the Skirt Stack High Priest, you're going to see a follow-up here of a Deathrite Shaman. Maybe that can help save Samuel's life total as well over the next couple of turns. A big turn there from Samuel. As you see, Alex untaps, he draws a Cartel Aristocrat.
Yeah, so he doesn't have anything to go with the Aristocrat. Like a Doom Traveler off the top would be perfect right now. I think Alex wants to start playing defensive. I think getting, like, shocking yourself and getting both of your 2-drops into play is really crucial against a card like Stronghold Christ and Deathrite Shaman. That shock is going to then again save you the 2 life that the Deathrite Shaman has. So little does Alex know that Samuel does have Volcanic Strength in hand, though, and this game is just a wildly different one than he imagined.
An interesting thing here, too, is you see Alex, he's thumbing that Blood Crypt, considering putting into play tapped or untapped. And the reason that's interesting is because he could just very easily go Cartel Aristocrat Rest in Peace right now.
Yeah.
He can play both of those spells. He'd have to take 2 damage to do it, go down to 10, which is a little bit scary because, you know, the Experiment Jund deck can deal a lot of damage very quickly. And he is going to play that into play untapped. But the Rest in Peace, you know, it signifies and it makes Strangleroot guys a little bit worse, but it also slows down that Deathrite Shaman, which is a big deal.
And that's just what it is. Like you shock yourself for 2 to save yourself the 2 that Samuel could have possessed next turn. The other line is maybe play the Silverblade pair and attack for 2, but I don't think that's strong. Then you do have a 2/2 first striker, potential getting blown out again.
But we do see Alex is going to play the Blood Crypt untapped. He does play the Cartel Aristocrat and the Rest in Peace, and he does move the turn back. So now Samuel is feeling pretty good here because, you know, something that I thought might be the case is the first person to stop attacking wins, and that might be the case here as Samuel does untap. He draws. You see a mountain in his hand, among other options that we haven't made out just yet, but he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself, even though, you know, the Deathrite Shaman was a pretty good post-combat play, but it's got neutered pretty badly by that Rest in Peace. So we're looking at a Sanctuary cat.
Well, it is a creature in play, and it did force Alex to play a card like Rest in Peace instead of something else or board. Even though it does look pretty good right now, I still don't think it's the kind of card I want in this matchup.
Now we'll see Samuel play a mountain here. And again, we do know about that volcanic strength in Samuel's hand here. You see him really considering his options, figuring out how to navigate this turn. When there is a Sacrifice Outlet and a Skurstag High Priest in play, it is kind of scary. You know, if he does draw a Doom Traveler, as you said, Brad, things change dramatically in this game. But it looks like we are going to see volcanic strength here on the Strangleroot Geist.
Who needs 2 lives when you're unblockable?
He actually has mountains to walk over this time.
Yeah.
And here comes the Deathrite Shaman as
this
well.
Is just this is telegraphing a Rampager.
This reeks of a Gore Clan Rampager.
Yeah.
You smell that?
Yeah, I do smell that.
Yeah.
Bacon?
That's not bacon.
It's not bacon?
No. No, I know bacon smell. That's not bacon. This could get ugly here this turn.
That's the smell of a person that ate bacon today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Just raw.
And, you know, this is such a good attack too, because let's say that he doesn't even have the Gore Clan Rampager in his hand. It's still just a scary attack here if you're Alex. You know, how am I going to block on this Gore Clan Rampager? What if he doesn't even have it? What am I worried about?
Like, I think like you're not going to race that 4 anyway. Like, I actually don't like telegraphing it, to be honest, because you have a 4/6 or 4/8 clock right now, but you do deal the trample. Like, I guess he just doesn't want to take the trample, but you need that Aristocrat to stay alive, so you have the slip. So I think you just have to put the Aristocrat in front. If he has it, you sack and gain protection. That's just, that doesn't work.
That block's not going to happen. I promise you that much. You have mountains, Alex.
Block invalid error.
And so now he's going to just put the Cartel Aristocrat in front of the Deathrite Shaman. Again, be very surprised if we don't see a Gore Clan Rampager here. And there is the Blood Rush, +4/+4, and Trample. He's going to sacrifice that. Skurstag High Priest, you have a protection from a color, but the High Priest really having no impact on this game overall, where I think we both would agree, we thought it was probably going to, eventually.
If it was faster. And, well, it is also still, like, the problem is the Aristocrats is just schizophrenic, right? I don't think you want Silverblade Paladins and Cartel Aristocrats in the same deck.
Yeah.
I think they just do 2 different things.
Yeah, they're wildly different cards, as we do see Alex draws an Isolated Chapel for the turn. He does have his last card in hand, which is a Silverblade Paladin, but he is at 3 life, and he is staring down a mountain-walking jerk of a card in Strangleroot Geist. And after he does play this last card, it'll be revealed to you guys at home, just like it will be to Samuel. And we're looking at a player with no outs here and staring down a lethal attack. You're going to see a pairing here, and you're going to see a double strike attack. Maybe, maybe not, but it's not lethal, and he does just pass the turn back. And he decides, all right, here's my last stand. In comes Cartel
He knows, but he's a man, and he's going to let him deal the damage.
That's right. So Samuel is going to untap. He's going to draw after he moves down to 5. Tragic slip the draw here for Samuel. He's going to play a Forest, and I think he's just going to go, in with my Mountain Walker.
Yeah.
All right, thumbs up and a handshake. Samuel Williams does win with Experiment Jund. A deep sigh of relief over Alex Claudio and the Aristocrats, 2-1.
Yes.
So we do see a win there from Experiment Jund, a deck that is, you know, it comes and goes in the standard format. You know, not entirely sure how good it is. We saw the top 8 of playing for top 8 of Pro Tour Montreal. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but it was a player that unfortunately was dispatched by both Jerry Thompson and Eric Froelich. lost both of his win-ins with Experiment John. That's a little bit tough.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one to swallow. Yeah.
I feel bad too because not only did he lose both matches, but I also can't remember his name. It was just kind of the guy who just got ran over by Jerry T and Efro.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but we saw Experiment John have a good tournament there, and we've seen it have a Tyler Lindsay broke through on the